months.
Like,
it has.
Nice. Oh,
it has been really. No, that's fine. Hey, everybody. Welcome to my channel again. I am here without Dean because he couldn't pay his ghostwriter, but I have even better, Jon Del Arroz, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. Whose new Kickstarter for Flying Sparks 1 through 4 is closing in 62 hours or so.
62 hours. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's been a mad dash. I spent 2 weeks not promoting the book because I went to Austin for a week, and then I went to Nashville for a week, and I just drank for 2 straight weeks, and I just didn't do anything. So, so it was awesome, but that's not the way I recommend running a campaign.
From what I hear, though, that's pretty much all there is to do in Austin. Yeah, drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay though. I like that. any barbecue. I ate way too much also. So, and actually, I had 2 extreme eating sessions with Tim Lim, and it was just piles of pork ribs, and it was. I gained 5 pounds. It's terrible.
I want to be able to sit down and eat with Tim Lim.
Well, then go to Austin.
I am. I'm gonna have to make a trip out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take all my books. Have him sign them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go stalk him in Austin.
That's what I did exactly, and it worked out great. So, yeah.
What is this?
I also got to meet Matt Weldon, which was nice, and also got to meet Bill Williams from Punchline. So that was great.
Oh, too. Very cool.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, I got that book, the last one, the 2-volume set. I couldn't afford the hardcover.
Here's the coolest story. I destroyed my books by accident. I spilled water on them. I just one day, it was like a nightstand setup. I was reading it, and then I just went, in my sleep, right? And then the water just dumped all over my Punchline books. And I actually did a review of the book, and I was like, I destroyed my book, and here's all the water damage. And Bill just straight up sent me 2 hardcover replacements. I had soft covers, but now I have the hardcovers because he just sent them to me. It's the nicest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So
that is extremely nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. So I didn't even notice that you had funded on the first day.
Yeah, we did that. So we had a huge first day, and that was very exciting. So it takes a lot of the stress off, and it just means that we can just let the readers come in, check out the book. This is our 4th volume, which means 12 issues worth of the main storyline content. And there's 3 side story issues so far. So this is building to be a pretty huge universe. There's not a lot of indie books that get this far in terms of just the amount of content out there. So I'm very proud of our team for just working really hard and coming out with books regularly. And that's exactly why Jethro, our artist, was able to get hired by Marvel Comics, because they saw that he's just a hard worker who gets his stuff done, and he does very beautiful art, and all that combined it means a real industry job. It's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So who are they? Those other people over there.
YouTubers who don't actually make comics and then just get people to simp for them for some reason. It's a bit frustrating to watch that and watch how they denigrate people who actually get the work done, to the point where it's like they actually work to make sure that their audiences don't back the books of people who get the work done. And it's just sad because these people are just pouring cash into these things that who knows if they'll even ever get made, right? And we're sitting here and we're just we're just chugging along, working, putting out great stuff. Everybody who reviews these say that they're just the best books out there, and they work tirelessly to just try to make sure that their backers never discover our projects, because they don't want their backers actually reading good books. If they see good books coming out regularly, their backers are going to start to question what's going on over there, and they're just scorched earth making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. There's I'm getting a little bit of an echo on you, I think. But yeah. Weird.
I am plugged in headphones and all that, so it shouldn't be.
Make sure I'm all double checked. Yeah, I am all good. Oh well. I'm not going to stress over it. So there's a few people that just chug out product and good quality product
every time,
and you are one of them. And I love that. I think it's great.
It's really good, and I hope that as this kind of rolls along, obviously there was a lot of, I'd say there was a lot of back and forth and feelings hurt and things like that, just because of the way that people reacted during, we were all put through literal hell. All of us. You were, I was, right?
Yeah.
Just by people just trying to just destroy us for making comic books or loving the wrong comic books, right? They really just spiteful, hateful people, and it hurt a lot. And it hurt a lot of people in different ways. And so there's a lot of feelings hurt and all that, but I'm hoping, like, as this rolls along and as it's very obvious who produces quality product regularly and on time and over again, that we'll all start to like coalesce together into something much more positive than what was there before, So
I think there's also going to be a huge like sea change in crowdfunding and indie comics and who's coming in. I with Marvel and the big two having issues and people starting to crowdfund their own comics, it's going to sort of hopefully marginalize the most toxic elements that have been sort of taking over our little corner of comicdom.
I think it's already happened. I don't even hear about stuff that goes on in those circles anymore. There was one the other day, I guess Micah Curtis was attacking Razor Fist because Razor Fist is actually putting his money where his mouth is. Hey, we just got a backer. Thank you if you're checking things out. Appreciate it a lot. And Razor Fist is putting out a book, and he's always been a very heavy proponent of like the old pulps and like the classic Golden Age stuff, and he that's sort of his spiel. He really loves the Phantom. Is really one of the properties he's big into, and so he's finally coming out with his own book and doing his own book, and they finally got on the radar again because Micah Curtis just went and tried to trash Razor Fist, and because Razor Fist worked with a publisher who I worked with for the first couple volumes of my book, which is where they all attacked me, and they stared.
We can say right and all that. We can say his name.
We can say his name. Lord Voldemort himself.
Vox Day.
Well, Vox gets stuff done, and that was the original major attack. And what Vox has always got stuff done. He's been a publisher since 2012, 2010 maybe. He's come out with epic fantasy books. He's got a line of leather-bound books of just like he's actually editing and reproducing the classics like Dante's Divine Comedy and the Greek and Roman Plutarch. Like he's coming out with that stuff. He's got his own subscription TV service now with Owen Benjamin. He's got a whole comic line also. I mean, he produces stuff, and so they saw that as a threat. That was the first threat. Was he produces stuff. He publishes Milo Yiannopoulos' books. It's like the list keeps going on, right? Jack Posobiec's books too are out through Vox. A lot of people don't know that, but they've got a big operation there that's much bigger than like crowdfund comics, right? And so when they went into attack that, like they really couldn't touch what he was doing. So the proxy fell down to me, and they're like, oh well, this JDA guy is getting published by him. Let's torch him. And that was kind of how it spiraled. And if you notice from that point forward, they just kept attacking people who produce and people who have talent and people who are actually producing good comics. And that's been the MO since then. So Razor Fist is the latest, and it backfired this time. So this is the first time, like, I think people have seen enough of it. And so when they see it start now, they realize what's going on. And I think we are seeing a sea change, like you said. So Micah Curtis, instead of getting his accolades for attacking Razor Fist and calling Razor Fist alt-right and white supremacist, and what he always does, that crap. His fans are like, this ain't it, Micah. You're a freaking idiot. And I watched it as it backfired on him. I'm like, oh my God.
Even Ethan was like, this ain't it. You're an idiot, Micah. And I was just like, okay. Micah's like, I just don't want to see it. He's just going to get screwed by Vox. And I'm like,
He's not.
the one thing, okay,
Yeah.
I have heard all sorts of things about Vox Day. Most of them I don't believe. But the one thing I have never heard is that he screws over the talent that contracts to him. I have never heard anything come even close to that. And I
No,
was
not
like,
at all. And in fact, what it's going to do is Razor Fist has a very big audience. Vox also has a very big audience. So what's going to happen is it's going to reach a critical mass that's going to sell his book much better than it would have otherwise, because Vox is going to push it on his blog, and his blog just gets so many views every day. It's a big thing. So Razor Fist has a very good incentive to team up there. It makes sense. They're both on the same page culturally and what needs to change with culture, and I'm on that page also. So I think it's going to be a good team up, and I think Razor Fist is going to have a huge success, and that's really going to make poor Micah cry.
I think Mike has already cried.
He's already cried.
He's already cried. Yeah. When Ethan's like, don't go after the big YouTuber, I was like, oh my gosh, because that's pretty much what it boiled down to for Ethan.
He knows.
Ethan would have slapped, Ethan would have been willing to slap around Vox Day as much as he wanted.
If it's a YouTuber who has a big audience, Ethan knows that that's going to cut off a certain portion of his audience, and that's the only time he actually seems to ever have quote principles is when it's like, oh, I don't want to upset this guy who might be able to knock me out.
And
and that's the deal.
My feeling about why Micah really did it, because it didn't have much to do with Vox. Vox was just the excuse for him. He wanted to go after Razor Fist because he had dared to platform Doug TenNapel.
Oh, really?
During Earthworm Gym 1. Yeah. And so I know that's really what it was about, but
double bad thing.
Double bad thing. So tell everybody about Flying Sparks.
Sure. If you have not read Flying Sparks yet, what are you doing here? You should have been reading this for the past 2 years. But if you've not, for some reason, Flying Sparks is the story of a superhero gal who is dating a villain under her secret identity. He's like a crime lord, and he's got superpowers of his own. And she doesn't know that that's what he's doing in his spare time. He runs a coffee shop as a front, and she thinks he's just this super nice guy who takes her out on expensive dates and yet runs a coffee shop. Seems kind of suspicious.
So like Sunny on General Hospital.
Exactly like that. So it's got a Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibe to it, of course, because they're both on their own little silos doing their own things. And it's got a Romeo and Juliet vibe to it too. It's also got just a classic superhero fare to it also, because I'm running a pretty complex plot where Metagirl is really coming into her own as a superhero. I wanted to not have a strong female lead Mary Sue type. I wanted to show that you can have a feminine female lead who's actually like a real character who develops over the course of things, who gets better over practice, over reps and doing things, because that's how real life works. When you start out doing something, you're not exactly there, but after you've done it a few times, you do it a lot better. And that same thing. I mean, you read volume 4, you'll be like, wow, John's a much better writer than he was at volume 1, as it should be. So I wanted to have that kind of arc for her, to where she actually has to like overcome obstacles and not just be, the next Ray. And that's where her storyline goes. On the other end, Johnny, the main character, who's the villain, he has like a descent into extra bad, right? So he starts out as just like he's a fence. He's selling stolen goods that people bring to him and offloading them to other people. And because of strange situations, he ends up like murdering somebody. It's in self-defense, but just killing somebody. And so once he kills somebody, it becomes easier to kill somebody the next time. And it becomes easier to kill somebody the next time. And he gets caught up in like a mob war, because I really love in Batman and Spider-Man, at least the classics, where Spider-Man would fight against the mob and against Hammerhead and people like that, and the Kingpin. And I would love when Batman would fight against the mob. Like War Games was a really good storyline on that level. And so I wanted to have that going on. So I've got that silo going on. I've got her becoming a superhero and dealing with a couple villains along the way as she sees them. And both of them are like, why are you not here on our date when you were supposed to be, right? And they start to kind of uncover that there's something amiss about the other. And obviously, as they find out that the other's withholding secrets from them, it plays a little hell on their relationship. And so it's all about the relationship. It's all about the superhero drama. And I wanted to create a book that gives you that 80s Marvel vibe, where you have a storyline. Each issue has its own beginning, middle, and end, and yet it still kind of builds the overarching plot. So if you read like old Claremont X-Men, you'd have every issue would have like, the X-Men would fight against Arcade and show up in his thing, and but there's a little teaser there, and this really builds into the Hellfire Club, right? Right. And Dark Phoenix is still going down her path of becoming Dark Phoenix, and that all builds, even though that one issue still was self-contained. I loved that about old comics, and I think that's what's great about the serial medium. And I wanted to bring that back, so it's not just writing for trade, where it's like, you get into a middle issue and there's not much substance there a lot of the time. I want every issue to have huge substance to it and actually grow to be more substance than the last issues. So that's my goal in writing, and I think we've really just nailed an awesome superhero universe here. So I hope everybody will check it out.
And it's 72 pages, right?
Yep, each volume 72 pages. So we've got. I saw originally when the whole Comicsgate stuff started going down, I saw Jawbreakers was going to be a 48-page book, and Cyberpunk is going to be a 48-page book. Lone Star is going to be a 48-page book. And they're all $25 at 48 pages. And I was like, they're all kind of bigger names than me. So how am I going to outcompete with this stuff is I'm going to actually deliver more content for the same price. And so that's what I decided with volume 1, to do a 72-page deal. And I kept at that every single time so far. So with volume 4, that means the full main storyline will be, how do we do math with this? We can do this. 72 times 4 is 288 pages. So that's a pretty big, thick omnibus worth of material for you to binge read. And I think that's awesome for anybody who wants to actually read and wants to be a fan of the work.
So, what are the various? I was looking at the Kickstarter today, and so it's what you offer the first volume on there, right?
I offer the first, I offer the fourth, and then I do the full deal, right? As a complete Flying Sparks, I call it. So, so I do it all digitally. So if money's an obstacle, I think the digital for the complete, which includes the 3 side issues also. The 3 side issues are issue 0, which are just 3 short stories that take place in the Flying Sparks universe. The Meta Man special, which ties into it all, and then the Punchline crossover. So I'm actually doing a crossover issue with Punchline from Antarctic Press, and that's Matt Weldon and Bill Williams' book. And that's not out yet. So the way to get that is to actually add it onto your order here, or back to complete digital. So $35 gets you 15 issues worth of content. I think that's a really screaming deal for that. And if you want them in paperback, I think I did it at $99, which that comes down to it basically, if you sum up the volumes at $99, you've got $25 times 4, right? So you get the 3 side issues free, basically. So I'm trying to give everybody a deal who actually wants to go all in as they come in and check this out. I've got my wife right here, so hold on just a second.
Of course. Yeah, Flying Sparks and Punchline. It's a very exciting crossover. I loved I backed the Punchline, the last one. I didn't get the hardcovers because I can't afford it, but it was a fabulous book. And yes, the Sashi cover is gorgeous. But it's Sashi, so
yeah. So that's the cool thing. Beautiful. So with volume 2, I started just doing 1 variant. I don't really want to do like a lot of variants because I think it's a little much. But with volume 2, I hire Sashi to do a sexy variant every time, and they're sexy, but they're still clean and they're PG. Is what I always try to keep it. I don't want to delve too far off the deep end there. And And so we have that. And so there's a volume 2 version, volume 3, and volume 4. I still have a couple copies of volume 2 and 3 left, like not many. So if you want those versions of those issues, just message me and we'll work that out. But yeah, the volume 4, she really outdid herself. I actually got complaints about this, that it was too sexy.
Too sexy. I think it's really cute, actually. I think it still has a little bit of, modesty, but it's really cute.
Yeah, and that's what I was going for. I mean, like the first one, I was like, just have her on a bikini on a beach, because that's pretty good cheesecake, right? The second one, I was like, okay, I have to outdo that. So I had her and her roommate pillow fighting, right? And I'm like, okay. And these are just things girls do. They get in bikinis on beaches and pillow fight, right? And there's nothing lewd about that. And then I was like, how do I outdo pillow fight? Because that's pretty difficult to outdo. I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, well, superheroes are always freaking out and like heading into their like phone booths or whatever. And it's like, well, if they get caught changing, that's a very superhero thematic thing to do. So she did this. I think it looks like it's very 50s. It's got that like 50s pinup vibe a little bit to it.
It does.
And it, it's cool, but yeah, it's, I got a couple complaints. Like people are like, can you stop posting this image? Cause it's all over my wall. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's definitely a mostly naked girl, but it's also not, I don't know. I mean, come on. This is the internet in 2020.
She's right? Wearing what she would be wearing on a beach anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So, right. I mean, at first glance,
girls walking down the street with this.
Yeah. Sure. At first glance, you don't notice that she's wearing the top, because all you like her hand right. there sort of like takes your eye away from that. But the more you look at it, you're like, oh, it's just her panties and her bra.
Yeah. Sashi did a very good job of making sure, because I told her, it's like, I want to keep it PG. Right. And that's and she did a great job. I mean, this is how art used to express just beauty and sexuality in the past, was they implied, and I think it's actually to me personally, I think it's sexier when it's something implied than it's just like a full-blown, porn piece, right?
Right. So I had seen a post on Twitter from an old head. I don't know, did you ever read the blog, The Other McCain?
A couple times.
Yeah, he's on his Twitter, and it was this beautiful picture of Elizabeth Taylor, and it was something like, I remember the days when sexy was still fully clothed.
Yeah.
And it's true in a way.
And if you go to Saudi Arabia, it's really fully clothed.
Yeah, but I don't know how much sexy there is there.
I was told that I was actually at a bar at a convention with a comic book writer who got invited to their first convention in Saudi Arabia.
Uh-huh.
And so he was like, I'll never go to Saudi Arabia and they're paying me. This sounds pretty cool. Let's go. Adventurous, right? And he went out there and he's like, it was they were covered head to toe in islets. It was like in a very extremely conservative Muslim area. And the rules were, they set rules that you could not talk to a woman unless she talked to you first. If she addressed you, then it's okay. And it was very strict, and you had to be very careful. And they came up and they were very interested in American culture. They're just like, wow. They were just shocked that this exists, right? And so he got treated very well there, which he was very happy about. And he told me that like the actual like the way that it works is because they're so covered, they do up their eyes like with their eye makeup and all that, to the point where it's just like their eyes are works of art. And it's just, he said it is actually, believe it or not, like, because you're imagining what's underneath there. Other than that, like in your it's all imagination in the man's mind at that point, but you see the beautiful eyes done up. He's like, it is actually the sexiest thing he's ever seen.
Oh my.
Yeah, I know. There you go. So put on your burqa, Vicky.
Yeah. I'll go out and get a burqa, and then I'll actually do a reveal instead of hiding behind my Sashi avatar.
Yeah, you can film on video with a burqa and nobody knows who you are.
Nobody will
Yeah.
know. So are you doing international shipping international, or is it
I
just
do,
domestic?
yeah. So I mean, it is. I just put the costs of what the actual costs are. I lost big money on my second campaign because I was trying to just cut shipping costs, and because the first one had the Comicsgate backing with it still. I was like, oh, I sold 800 books, and it's a good book, so everybody will come back, and I'll just cut shipping so that everybody can reap the benefits of my success, right? I like that idea. I always tell people, like, if I get up to 500, 800, 1,000 backers, I'm just going to slash costs because I'll just give you more because I'm making more money. That makes sense at that point. Oh well.
Mhm.
They didn't care about the books, it turned out, and so I lost about 2/3 of my backing between campaign 1 and campaign 2 because Comicsgate is just the show. Nobody cares about the books. And so I had my shipping costs way low, and I lost my shorts on international shipping on volume 2. Actually went to the negative on that one, and I fixed that for volume 3. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
international
it's
shipping can
killer.
be a
Yeah,
yeah, it can be a real killer. And you can set it up so it does shipping by country too, right? So I know like Kickstarter always asks where it's being sent to.
yeah. I
Um,
do United States, Canada, and rest of the world because the rest of the world doesn't vary all that much.
right, but
But
it
yeah,
still runs into, you're still looking at like 30, almost $30, right?
it's about
For
25. It cost me, I think the actual postage is like 23.50 to ship internationally.
yeah,
And so, you put materials and supplies on that, it's about $25.
yeah.
So that's what I put. And I keep it a little lower when people go for the larger bundles, like the full set and all that. So even if I lose a little bit of money on shipping on that, I feel like if somebody's going to go all in on me, I should be nice to them. I'm a little too nice maybe, and I should be a little more cutthroat. But yeah, I kind of try to keep the backers in mind first, and that's also why I have digital options, because it's like if you live in New Zealand or whatever, and just want to read the book, it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper just to go for the digital there.
Yeah. Are you going to be opening up on Indiegogo after this closes, or are you just going to, is this a Kickstarter only campaign
But yeah,
that
so I've done both for I guess for volume 3 I did both, and I tested that. And it's great. I did get another like 60, 70 backers by doing that. But at the end of the day, like, I need to stop spending my time setting up campaigns. And if I'm setting up another Indiegogo campaign for all the same stuff, it's hours that I could be spending writing, making the next book, producing the next book, etc. And so I
right.
just want to go on to the next book. So I want to be able to just put these out and go. It's actually my goal, my dream, is that I don't even have to stream anymore to sell the book. Is that I can just put it up there, work on the next one, and go. That's
I
that's my dream in life.
Yeah, I would give you
Yeah,
a big old good luck with that
I know,
one.
I know.
I mean, I don't buy the whole you have to have a big YouTube channel and all this other baloney and you need to stream every day, but you do have to have that presence on YouTube, at least a
Yeah,
small one.
it's been helpful for sure, and mine's growing to the point where I'm almost, which I hope somebody goes and subscribes to my YouTube at some point too, if you're in here and you haven't already, because I'm almost to that 2K threshold. And John Malin says very specifically that you cannot crowdfund a comic book unless you have 2,000 YouTube subscribers. So I would like to be a person who would be able to crowdfund a comic someday. So I'd like to be that.
They've set up some of the craziest rules
It just makes no sense. It's like
for
wait, well, it's a pyramid scheme, right? So you've got the guys on top, and they're a lot of what people back for them is not actually caring about the book, not caring about even them as a personality. They see these guys as like, oh, they did $100,000 and I can do that too. And so they look to them for like advice and like for like a, hey, will you give me a shout out so that my book sells a couple extra. So it is a big pyramid scheme where like they hope that it's like an aspirational thing. They're just trying to sell they're trying to sell their books to the next level down, and then hope that it gets them some sales. It's a very weird setup, and I'm not sure why so many people buy into it at this point. because it really, I've watched a lot of campaigns just get zero, just 100% flatline when they've attempted to do this, and then it seems like there's another crop of people willing to do it again right after that.
Well, yeah, they're selling the dream.
Selling the dream.
Selling the dream. And if you get out there and you grab an oar,
It's really weird.
You can do it.
So there is there is some truth that YouTube does help. And the thing is, like, the YouTube has very bad conversion rates, though. Like, we'll stream here, and you'll probably end up with 100, 200 watchers out of this, and maybe you'll get 1 or 2 backers out of it, and that's an hour, right? So that's why I don't like streaming so much. I like you though, Vicky. So
I like you too, John.
But so it's a bad conversion rate, and but when you have 100,000 subscribers or whatever, it doesn't matter if you have a bad conversion rate. You can get 1,000 people to buy something, right?
Yeah, I think Ethan's conversion rate on the first Cyberfrog was around 2% of his subscribers.
Right. That's normal. That's normal for YouTube and stuff. And then, but if you build a mailing list newsletter, this is what I do for books. And the book world's very much like, because writing takes a lot longer and it's like, it's a focus thing. You can't, like, you can draw while you're on a stream or whatever. And some of the guys do that, right? And you can kind of do that. You can't actually write a story while you're on a stream. I could not talk and like write a story at the same time. It's not possible. And so writing's really a solitary thing that has to be solitary. And because of that, like, most writers are just stuck. And if you write 100,000 words for a book, you're just offline. You're not on YouTube doing things like that. I never see book writers doing this, except for me for some reason. And so what happens is they build a lot of back-end marketing, like newsletters. So you go to their website, you get a free book for signing up for the newsletter, which, by the way, you can go to my website, get free books, including Flying Sparks Volume 1, if you haven't checked it out digitally, for signing up for my newsletter. And they sign up for the newsletter, and then the newsletter, like, you send out a newsletter every week saying, hey, I'm up to this right now, and check out this book, which is out this week. And those convert a lot better, because if somebody actively signed up for a newsletter, they're signing up for something a little more transactional than like a drama YouTube video, right? So the conversion rate on that's way higher. And that's how I work my Amazon sales. And of course, with the back end ads also, there's a lot of advertising time and budget that I put into that also. And so on Amazon, I end up selling thousands of books, and it's not because of YouTube, it's not because of Twitter, it's nothing like that. People are literally on there just for the books. It's a much more pure environment, and it's neat. And I've got Flying Sparks up on there too, not volume 4 yet. That'll go out to backers first, of course. But it's cool because it still sells me like 30 to 50 copies of Flying Sparks every month. And so since the volume 1's been out since 2018, I mean, I've sold another like 1,000, 1,500 copies. And it's all on Amazon. It's not on the leaderboard. It's all there, and it just keeps going. We pay for the art with the Kickstarters, and then it just keeps perpetuating itself. And it's very nice on that level. It's not as, you don't get the leaderboard to be up there and be like 6 figures, bitch, because you can't just like take a screenshot of that.
Right.
But the slow trickle over time is good, because it's building up readers that actually care about reading and nothing else. And that's again the end goal.
And it's not just your comics, right? It's also your novels on there.
Novels,
as well?
yeah. So I've got 13 novels out now also. So, yeah.
So real quick, even though it has nothing to do with Flying Sparks, Snoop wanted to know how big your Templar series is, and
happy to.
Yeah.
That is a trilogy, and that storyline, what I was doing is when I came up with that, I was really upset with The Force Awakens, and I thought, wow, this is just a garbage movie. And this is pre-Last Jedi. And instead of going to YouTube and complaining about it, which I should have done in hindsight, because if I would have done that, I'd have a huge channel by now.
Yep. Insta growth.
Instead of that, I decided I'm just going to go and write my own story that like has those sort of elements, like a space opera sort of thing, and do it right. And so what I liked about The Force Awakens, is where I'll start, is I liked the beginning. where you see it's Finn, and he's in the stormtrooper armor, and he's getting PTSD because he's like seeing that all of his people are really just slaughtering innocents, and he can't handle it. And he has this like revelation moment where he's like, I shouldn't be doing this, right? And I was like, that's a really neat character arc spot. Like, I mean, can you imagine being a stormtrooper and like having those thoughts and realizing everything's like you've like ever been trained for, you've been brainwashed, it's all a lie, and you're just slaughtering people. Like, and changing to like then fight against that is a beautiful change in character arc. Well, from that point forward, no characterization happened whatsoever. Finn just fell on his face for the rest of the next 3 movies, while Rey was awesome, right?
Yeah.
He just fell flat. Finn did nothing. He kissed the fat Asian chick, you know. I mean, that's it. Like, there was no character arc there, but the beginning was beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I like that. And so I wanted to have a soldier in that moment where he's like actually questioning things. Now, where I changed everything and made it my own thing is I wanted to have a sort of a Christian-based universe, right? And so I'm like, Star Wars is very Eastern religion centric and all that, and I think that's all devilry and evil magic and witches. And so I'm like, okay, so how would I do this if it were actually like good, faithful crusaders doing the right thing in the name of God? And then that changed the storyline too, because even though he's got the PTSD from the killing and all that, he's actually doing the right thing and has to like reconcile with that. And that gave me a character plot there. So we're in a spot where there's a war, a complete galactic war going on between 2 major factions, which is the Templars and the Church. And they're trying to just basically regain their world and their Holy Land, just like, you know, the Crusaders were trying to retake Jerusalem back in, you know, 1000 AD or whatever it was. And then you have the Sakaran alien empire, which is an allegory for the Muslims, basically. So they have their empire, and they're brutal, and they, you know, abuse women and all that. And that's who our main characters are fighting against. And so that's the main deal. I eventually introduced like mercenary factions in there and things like that. And I've got a much bigger universe in there that expands over the 3 books. But that's the main fight. And you see it's really a Templar who has a crisis in faith, and then really becomes really firm in his own faith and what he's doing, and really comes to understand that he's doing God's work. And that's those are the books in a nutshell. So yeah.
I haven't picked them up yet. I have a list of books that I'm planning, and they are in my list. I just end up finding myself one broke.
I have a lot of books out there. So,
and you do have a lot of books out there.
And that's kind of the cool thing. And that's what that's also part of my strategy. You can have one property, and the one property is just like the thing, and that's it, right? But like, say if you like a Star Warsy type of thing, I will send you towards that series. If you like a Batgirl or Supergirl or like a good like 80s superhero thing, I will send you to Flying Sparks. If you want like a wacky superhero thing that's a little more Deadpool-like or whatever, I'll send you to Dynamite Thor. If you want the greatest comic of all time that will change the way you read comics, I'll send you to Robotoad, right? So, and I've got a steampunk series, and I've got another sci-fi series that's more like Star Trek. So it's like, so I've got the whole geek spectrum except for that Harry Potter crap covered. And I'm not going to do the Harry Potter.
We don't need more Harry Potter.
We don't need it. We don't need it.
No, there's already, you know, she already covered that in 5 or 6 books. We don't need more Harry Potter.
So, but I've got a little something for everybody is what it comes down to. And so it's like, you can be on one line of things. And what my hopes is that because like as an artist, I want to be able to like not have to write the same thing over and over again. And anybody will tell you who's very successful with like pop art, the trick is to be able to write the same thing over and over again, like, and put a little spin on it. And that's what keeps the audiences happy and really helps you grow in your business. I don't want to do that. I want to write completely different things depending on whatever I feel like doing, and to be able to have just complete artistic freedom. I want to be a real Renaissance artist who can just like, I want you to be able to trust me, like that I will if you liked my Templar story, you go to Flying Sparks, you read it, you go, oh, this wasn't what I was looking for, maybe, but you tell a good story, and you told a good story here too. I trust you. And so when I do the next thing that I want to do, hopefully it'll help develop that trust, and I can just be more expressive as an artist that way. So that's the deal. And I'm glad that sounds like something you'd like to read, Snoop. So.
Yeah, sounds like something. Well, when I first heard about it, it sounded like something I wanted to read. But like I said, I'm working against that broke thing.
My son actually just read that book, and he's 11. And I was a little curious about how he'd go with that. And yeah, he read it pretty good, and he said it was good. So I was happy. Yeah.
That's about the age I was when I first read the Foundation series.
Yeah.
The Asimov Foundation series. So that's a good age to start getting into science fiction and books that are a little bit more in depth.
He told me he read Flying Sparks when he was 9, volume 1, which was a little young, because I'd say it's pretty PG, maybe a little PG-13, like it's like Marvel movie, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, and kids watch the Marvel movies. And when he was 9, he looked at it and he goes, "There's a lot of blood," and I'm like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have had you read this." And he goes, "It was awesome," and I'm like, "Okay, cool."
When my nephew was 7 years old, his favorite movie was 13 Ghosts.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, that was that and Ghost Ship. Those were his two go-tos. I know, probably a little young for that kind of thing, but definitely. He knew it was all he was very aware of the fact that it was all fake. He just thought it was kind of cool.
Nice. So. Yeah, kids are a little more prepared than you give them credit for. I don't know. I still err on the side of like, I want to preserve the innocence, Yeah. But yeah, I was when he phrased it just like that, I was sitting there like, oh no, I just totally warped him. And then he's like, oh, and he just enjoyed it. But 9-year-old boys like blood. So
yeah, they do. Yeah, they are bloodthirsty little beasts. Fortunately, they grow out of that, or hopefully they grow out of that. So, we are getting close to an hour. So, any pitch you want to make on your book?
Yeah, sure. We talked about this at the beginning. This has like 2 storylines basically in one. You got 2 main protagonists. You got a hero. You got a villain. They are dating under their secret identities, and they are they're coming closer to figuring out what's happening with the others as these stories progress, and it gets to be huge emotional stakes between the characters, and also like there's a huge plot brewing in the background where there's an really evil villain who's masterminding a plot that's going to just wipe out everybody if they both don't come together and stop it. Is what it comes down to. So you're going to have whoa, I got a phone call coming through at the same time. Sorry.
That's all right.
So that's that. And if you like really good character-driven stuff, and if you like characters who are like 3-dimensional, if you like women who act like women and not like Captain Marvel, if you like men who actually like live by a code of honor, you're going to like my stuff. So, yeah. So we got a question here.
Yep. Darkspawn was wondering if you prefer getting your trades in volumes or the trades of the specific story arcs that make up certain issues.
I like getting everything. So my favorite books to read are, let's see if I've got one right here. I might, maybe I might not. Maybe I don't. They're the Marvel Epic collections, but I've got an analog to that here somewhere, which is kind of similar to that. So this is, I'll show this. This is Mike Barron's Flash. So I like them like really thick trades like this, and it just covers issues 1 to 18. And so it's got, this is like right when Crisis started, and I'm hoping they just do volume 2 that just does the next 18 issues just like that. And that way I can get a big, thick reading all at the same time and do it that way. Now, most of these usually, when they break them up like this, they tend to just like have a good stopping point for like the arc or somebody's run or something like that. And so that's it. The Marvel Epic collections are my favorite things to read, and DC's kind of doing that in thick trades. They just don't have good branding like Marvel does, like, because Marvel, all their spines match, and I'm a big OCD person like that. So you get all the nice, pretty spines together on the Marvel Epic collections. It's really nice.
Yeah, I kind of like it when my bookshelf looks, has that uniformity in the groupings. Yeah, I don't know why.
I subscribed to there's a Star Trek graphic novel collection, and it's by a company called Eagle Moss. And what sucks about it is they're not doing it in any sort of order. So it's like you're getting random storylines almost, but they are collecting every Star Trek graphic novel ever made. And what happens is, as they have a spine on the spine, it forms a picture of like all the Enterprises in Deep Space Nine and a big logo of Star Trek, like when they're all together.
Oh,
so
that's pretty cool.
It's like one big picture when all the spines are lined up, and so that's why I bought it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's a reason I would get it too. I mean, granted, my bookshelf has a lot of other stuff that aren't books in it, just to sort of break it up. But and I organize things really weird. But I want I like when I get books from an author and they all kind of look, have a uniformity to them. It makes me happy.
The hard covers of Flying Sparks look really nice together. They've got nice, like, uniform spines with like the logo on each of the spines in volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or there's not a 5 yet, but there will be a 5 across the side of it. So I definitely recommend the hardcovers for people who like that sort of OCD thing like I do.
How many issues or volumes of it are you planning? Are you just going to keep going?
5 will be this arc at least. So this storyline will be 5. Jethro, the artist, I mentioned this earlier too, just got hired by Marvel. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do Beyond 5 at this point. He might be with Marvel now. But we will have 5. The storyline will close out. If we do a second storyline, it will be a wild. I've already got it plotted. It'll be a wildly different plot. And like I said, I want to do artistry. I want to do something different. So it'll be very much its own starting on point, but it will progress these same characters if we go there. But I'm not going to do it without Jethro. I want to keep the same art. I like the same artist consistency across things. So I just couldn't imagine Flying Sparks without him. So
that's very sweet.
Yeah.
I have dropped the link in the chat to the Kickstarter. And also I will be putting the link to your website in my description because I totally brain farted on it earlier.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, I got everything else. And I forgot your YouTube too. And
I am on YouTube. That's true.
Her Vojay already called me out for that one. He's like, Vicky. I'm like, nice. Oh, whoops. So they're all be there.
One new subscriber today, so I'm gonna credit you with that. So
it's always possible.
Yeah,
it was probably Dean.
Dean had better already be subscribed to me. If Dean's not already subscribed to me, I will be so offended. I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably like make Dean into a villain or something like that.
You would have to. Dean doesn't read comics
really?
Like comics. Yeah, he doesn't read books either. He's a bit of a Luddite.
He's probably not subscribed to me then.
I'm trying. I think one night I want to do a stream where we do nothing but shame Dean for all of the classic movies he's never watched.
I've probably not watched a lot of those also. I just don't watch a lot of TV or film. Yeah, I'm much more into reading. So
yeah. I used to watch a lot more TV and see a lot more movies than I do now. I have found that I just don't tend to enjoy a lot of the new stuff. It feels so repetitive, and it's like new music. I listen to it and I hear stuff from the 70s and the 80s, literally hear it in there, and I'm like, I'm just going to listen to that stuff I was listening to when I was a kid. But I find the same thing happens with movies, especially. I'll watch a movie and I'll be like, oh, that's this movie and that movie and that movie. And,
yeah, and they do definitely do that. And I have a problem with anything action oriented movies right now, because over the past, ever since really the prequel Star Wars is, you're ringing.
Yeah.
Ever since the prequel Star Wars is, every movie has gone so far into just such CGI explosions and somebody like I remember watching Star Trek Into Darkness, and it's like Spock jumps on top of the spaceship, like on top of it, and starts punching people, and I'm like, that's not Star Trek. It's too much reliance on the CGI, and they're not paying enough attention to developing characters and plot.
Well, my biggest problem with the latest Star Wars was like, how many times can we blow up a fucking Death Star? Excuse my language, I'm like,
it's a mega super duper.
I saw that when I was a kid. Can you give me something new? I'm like, do we have to do it again and again and again? I guess we do, because they've got nothing else to give us.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Unlike Jon Del Arroz, who gives us everything.
And I try to do it very differently every time. So, and Vicky's read Robotoad, so Vicky can at least tell you that I'm very good at pacing and giving a full plot and actually making characters who are actual characters who are different from each other, which is very, very different than you'll find from a lot of the comics out there in the indie scene for sure. There's I'm told I should be more humble, but I'm not. So
no, shill all you can. That's the name of the game. Otherwise, you won't end up, getting your crowdfunds funded.
Yeah. So we took the vote about Robotoad because we were wondering, do we do a Robotoad 2, which would be Blood Money, right? And Robotoad Blood Money. or do we do with the Salamam droid ashcan, right? Or do we do something new? And overwhelmingly, which is nice. I actually appreciate this about the audience, because I keep stressing that I want to really flex and do new things and different things. And the audience overwhelmingly, it was like 90% said do something new, do it, because I was saying it was going to be a science fiction story. So I have written the outline for we've got a full 3-issue volume just like this, because I like doing the full graphic novel volume. I think that's good bang for people's buck. Mm-hmm. And I've got that outlined. I scripted out the first issue of it, and the Robotoad artist will be starting on it in November. It's going to be called Overmind. So yeah,
cool, very cool. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah,
and hopefully I'm not broke. But links to everything JDA are in the description. I want to get a bite to eat before I watch the slaughter of the Dem candidate tonight.
Do you have the drinking game? Do you have the drinking game rules yet for this?
No, I do not.
Yeah, I'm going to pull this up for you. Before we go, because it's very important we have to make sure we are all playing by the same drinking game rules if we want to get accurately drunk here tonight. So let me find it. I grab it. I'll pull it up and I'll screen share this. You have to authorize the screen share once it's up. And here it is. Okay, here's the debate drinking game. So we've got sips, shots, and finish your drink. And so the sips are going to be: 1, Biden loses his train of thought mid-sentence. That's going to be a lot of sips right there, guys. That's a lot of sips happening.
That's a lot of sips.
Yeah. Trump laughs at Biden. I think I don't. Does Trump laugh a lot during the debates? I don't remember. It's been a while.
I don't remember him laughing a lot last time, but it might be hard to not laugh at Biden.
Yeah, it might. It definitely.
Yeah. Hillary might have cursed him. Biden will just drool.
Yeah, drool. Biden misquotes COVID stats. That's for sure going to happen. So
for sure.
Be there. Trump says huge. Now has he said huge as much lately? I've noticed what he's said lately is more like it's a record. It's a record. The
record has sort of taken over huge, but he'll say huge at least.
He'll say it at least once.
Yeah.
Trump's hair flutters. That's going to be a lot of sips. It's going to be a lot of sips.
I don't know. His hair doesn't move all that much.
He likes the hairspray. It's true.
He's definitely an Aquanet kind of dude.
Every time Biden starts a sentence with look or listen, that's going to be a lot of sips too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then every time Biden says an incorrect gun fact. Okay. Now full shots. We're going to full shots now. Anytime Biden references being VP or Obama, this is going to happen a lot because he's going to try to tie himself to Obama for the black vote, right?
Yeah, of course.
Anytime he references taking away guns, stricter gun laws, I think he's going to be careful about this. And personally, so this might not happen that much because I think that's not a popular stance right now.
It's not, but I don't know that that's ever stopped. I don't know that it's ever been too big a popular stance, honestly. And it never has stopped him before.
And anytime Trump says China virus, this will for sure happen. So there will be at least one shot happening. And then you get to finish your drink. This is the big one. If Biden forgets where he is. If Biden calls his wife by the wrong name or gender. Or if Biden says, come on, man.
They're definitely going to be finishing a lot of drinks. Come on, man. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
So I think he's going to be shot and pumped full of drugs. So he might not be the same person as we were used to seeing. Yeah.
I don't know if it's not like there's some miracle anti-dementia drug out there that will suddenly restore your cognitive function.
Stimulants will at least get you
a little bit. Right? I don't know. It might
he refused to take the drug test.
It might make it worse.
It could.
It could definitely make it worse.
But of course, the bar's so low because we are expecting him to just not even be able to finish sentences. So if he just finishes his sentences, he's going to outperform what we expect.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so looking. I can honestly say I have never looked forward to a presidential debate like I'm looking forward to this. Honest to God, because I'm usually like, yeah, whatever. I might listen in the background.
I was pretty stoked on the Hillary ones too because you knew something was gonna happen, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, I don't remember a lot of stuff from the presidential debates. I've probably watched most of them.
I think I've watched most of them since I
don't remember anything Bush ever said.
No,
I don't remember anything McCain or Obama ever said. They were just boring, right?
Nope.
I remember Romney's binders full of women because that was so cringy. I was like, oh God.
I do remember that.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
But only because it was cringy.
Only because it was cringy. Yeah. And then the only time I remember something positive and kind of cheering was Hillary Clinton is and acting like he's going to be Hitler, and Trump's kind of just walking around the stage behind her, and then whenever she pauses or whatever, he just goes, "'Cause you'll be in jail." And I was like, yeah.
That was just freaking hilarious. Though I will say this year, my favorite moment was when Tulsi Gabbard slapped at Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah.
That was so beautiful. And I don't, and I think if she had been I probably would have, I don't know that I would have voted for Tulsi over Trump. She's a little too, left for me. Because I'm far more, I'm like a left-leaning centrist, God have me too. The evil centrist. It's sort of hard to not be a little left-leaning when you grow up in California. Let's be honest.
I grew up in California though.
Yeah. But
I have it under high authority from Micah Curtis that I'm alt-right.
Tulsi Gabbard, I really, really liked her, and I would have had, some tough moments.
Yeah, she's good.
If she had been the nominee, but no, they had to screw her.
Of course they did. Yeah.
Of course they did. But thank you so much, Jon.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it.
This was fun.
We got 2 backers of the course so you can take credit for that.
Oh wow!
Thank you. You're the new hot channel to shill on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to 6 Scale Combat on Thursday.
Oh, rocking. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm publishing that one. So yeah.
I know. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Probably not getting, get too deep in the weeds on that, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Because I know he lives outside the country, I think.
Yeah.
And so he can't, have his own. But we'll be talking about Napalm Brothers too.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Back flying sparks. Go Trump. Make it again.
Back flying sparks. It's everything is in the description and in the chat. Have a great night, everybody.